Settling into a seat that allows for some ease here, some ease in the physicality of your body and some ease in the way that you're able to respirate. There's this kind of loner villager who lives on the very edge of town in this very northern, nearly Arctic latitude. And he is out before the harshness of winter settles in, collecting firewood. Just give ourselves 30 more seconds here, just to fully feel the way our body is sitting and the way our body is respirating. When it feels appropriate for you, if the eyes are closed, let's allow them to open. Let's plant our hands somewhere. So just hands down, wherever that is most comfortable for you. But do keep that bilateral delineation. Right hand on right side of the body, left hand on left side of the body. And we're gonna follow our left shoulder into a nice twist. And then we'll relax back to balance. Think about the shoulder girdle just softening, but also finding its way to stable. And then same thing, left hand on left side of the body, right hand on right side of the body. Let's follow the right shoulder into a twist. And really think about right shoulder leading you back instead of the forward hand energizing down. Allows the twist to be a little bit more regulated by the spinal capacity than if we pressure with the hands. And when you feel balanced, we'll just come back to neutral and take ourselves forward into a fold, whatever shape you're in. Just a little forward fold here. And when it feels appropriate, let's bring ourselves back up to a vertical spine. And we are going to transition to staff, legs extending out in front of us, and then onto our back. So finding your way onto your spine and letting your body settle here for a moment. Let's take our right ankle across our left thigh and think about where the natural rotation of that proximal femoral head is on the right hip, and just settle into that natural rotation. So we're not trying to over rotate. We're not trying to push more space. We're just finding natural. And then drop the bottom of the right foot to the left side of the mat. And then we'll lift our way back up. And as you come back, feel the sacral girdle or the hip girdle neutralize so that you get an equivalent weight distribution on the left and right side of the hips. And then drop the bottom of the right foot to the left side of the mat once again. Again, just a natural positioning of the hip here. It may expand as we work through this, but don't try to force room. And then we'll roll back to neutral hip alignment. Think about the weight distribution rebalancing. And then one more time, let's drop the bottom of the right foot into the twist. And we'll bring ourselves back to neutral. Drop the right foot so that it mirrors the left. And pull both thighs in towards the torso. Give yourself a nice little squeeze here. When you feel like you've maximized that benefit, feet come back to the mat and left ankle goes across the right thigh. Again, just allow the hip to naturally settle. Don't feel like you're forcing extra space here. Just trying to find a natural space. And then bottom of the left foot comes down to the right side of the mat. And we'll lift ourselves back to neutral. As we come back to neutral, we want to ensure that our weight distribution rebalances so that every time we're in neutral, we find balance. We find that equilibrium. And then bottom of the left foot comes down to the right side of the mat. And we'll come back to neutral. Find that neutral balance. And then bottom of the left foot will come down to the right side of the mat. And when you feel balance left to right, we'll come back to neutral. Drop the left foot to mirror the right and pull both thighs in towards the torso. Give yourself a nice little squeeze here. So let's kind of halfway find ourselves towards boat. So we'll roll to the little sacral balance and then just extend your legs out in front of you. And find staff once again. And just feel the expression of the legs being in front of you and try to find as much ease in the verticality of your spine as is possible here. And then let's transition to hands and knees tabletop. We're gonna make that transition a few times this practice, so a little bit atypical. Splay the fingers out nice and wide. Feel the shoulder girdle activate as the fingertips press into the mat. And let's curl our toes, lift our seat, and roll our way into down dog. As you get back into down dog, think about driving the energy into the hips. Think about elongating the spinal plane. Maybe you pedal the calves out a little bit here. Think about moving space into the back side of the body. And then when it feels appropriate for you, let's walk our way to the front of the mat. We'll inhale into half lift. Exhale back into fold. Check the weight distribution across the feet as you release back into your fold. Make sure that the big toe mound and the pinky toe mound on both feet are holding equal amounts of weight. Then let's roll ourselves up into a nice mountain pose. Build that base stability and strength here. If you haven't, let's inhale our hands together at heart center. Splay the fingers out nice and wide so you have active palms here, and slide your left foot straight back into lunge. Think about a vertical torso, smoothing into that front quad, no bend in the back knee, nice strong core engagement, fingers still splayed out nice and wide. And then just drive the arms forward. We change the center of balance to the shape, and we'll just use that little shift to help us step forward and into mountain. And we breathe once again. And let's do the same thing to the second side. Right foot slides straight back. Fingers are splayed out wide here. We're active. We feel the strength in the back leg. We smooth our way into that front leg. We have a nice neutral torso. We'll push the arms forward just to change the center of balance, and then use that to step forward. Sweep the arms up and overhead. Exhale through forward fold. Let your spine relax into this fold. Inhale into half lift. Exhale back into fold. Plant your hands, slide your right foot straight back into lunge. Plant that right toe mound. Feel the strength in the back leg and sweep yourself up into crescent. Drop the hands to heart center and use that movement to step forward and into mountain. Inhale, sweep the arms up and overhead. Exhale through forward fold. Inhale into half lift. Long spine. Exhale back into fold. Slide your left foot straight back into lunge. Plant the left toe mound. Drive the energy into that calf space. Inhale, sweep the arms up and overhead. Smooth into that front quad. Drop the hands to heart center and we'll step to the front of the mat. Inhale, sweep the arms up and overhead. Exhale through forward fold. Inhale into half lift. Exhale back into fold. Plant your hands. We'll walk our way into down dog. Come down to hands and knees. Tabletop. We'll flip the tops of the feet. Sink our way back into child's pose. We settle here. We think about how the hips are feeling. We think about how the lumbar is feeling, how the shoulders are feeling, how the body has responded to the first quarter of practice here. One of the things about living in this village, in this time, in this latitude is that most of the month when it's not snowing, most of the time is spent preparing for the snow. And so this villager is out kind of in the last days before the real snow falls. There's this light dusting of snow, not even enough to count. But he's out there and he's collecting as much wood as his body will allow him to. Just give ourselves 15 more seconds here. When it feels appropriate for you, let's pull ourselves forward to hands and knees tabletop, and we'll extend our legs out in front of us. Into staff. Let's follow the leg extension into a forward fold. Give ourselves 15 more seconds here. When it feels appropriate, lift our spine back to vertical, and we are headed back onto our spine, onto our backs. Settling here, feeling the way that your body is respirating and how the posterior chain is connecting or disconnecting from the mat as you breathe. Pay particular attention to the lumbar spine and think about flattening out, neutralizing the lumbar through the complete cycle of respiration. As you inhale, there's a natural tendency for the low back to arch. And as you exhale, there's a natural tendency for the low back to neutralize. We're gonna work to maintain that neutral alignment throughout the inhale and exhale. And then if your knees aren't in a bent position, let's bring them into one so the kneecaps point towards the ceiling. And And then keeping your left knee bent, let's extend our right leg down the mat. Let it hover an inch or two off of our mat or floor. And with an inhale, let's lift that foot towards the ceiling. Remember that the knee can bend here and the bottom of the foot does not need to point at the ceiling. Towards the ceiling is different than at. And then with an exhale, we'll release the right foot back down to its hover position. Inhale, we'll lift back up towards the ceiling. And exhale back into its hover. Remember, our lumbar is staying neutral and natural. Inhale back to towards the ceiling. And exhale to hover. And we're going to do this one more time. Inhale towards the ceiling. Exhale. Hover, and we'll bend the right knee and let the right and left legs mirror one another. Notice how the QL musculature on the right and left side of the spinal column, those big musculature straps on either side of the spinal column are responding here. Notice how your body is leveling here, where the weight distribution is naturally wanting to go. And then think about just bringing that back to neutral. And then keeping your right knee bent, let's extend the left leg. The left heel hovers, left leg hovers. Left quad is likely flexed here to make this upper and lower leg structure one. And then with an inhale, we'll lift the left foot towards the ceiling. And with an exhale, slowly let this come down to hover. Inhale, we'll lift. And exhale. Let that leg come down and hover. Inhale to lift. And exhale. Hover. One more time, inhale to lift. And exhale to hover. And then we'll bend the left knee and let it mirror the right. Let your body once again settle here. We'll pull both thighs in towards the torso. Give ourselves a nice little squeeze. And then keeping the knees kind of contracted towards the torso, but releasing your arms, let's slowly lower our thighs over towards the left side of our mat. Now you can stay hovering here. We do not want the knees to collapse into one another though. We should keep a natural hip space. And then we'll roll back to neutral. And then we'll do the same thing to the right side. And roll back to neutral. To the left. We'll roll back to neutral. And to the right. And roll back to neutral. Let your feet come down to the mat. Let's push down into the toe mounds and heels. Lift our belt line up into a nice little bridge. This can be a bridge of your choice. So if you want to go past neutral, you're welcome to. And then maybe we take the arms and we see if it feels comfortable to interlace them underneath our sacrum here. I guess the hands would interlace. You can interlace the arms. You're welcome to do that too. And then we'll relax the arm or release the hands, relax the arms, release the tailbone back down to the mat. Let's pull our thighs back into our torso. And we're gonna go for that little sacral balance, that half boat. And then we'll extend our legs out in front of us into staff, just again to feel how our body feels with the legs extended and with our spine vertical. And we'll transition to hands and knees tabletop. As you come into tabletop, once again, splay the fingers out wide. reconnect to that idea of a big, stable base. Curl your toes, lift your seat, and roll your way back into down dog. Think about shifting the weight back into the hips. Think about pushing down across the finger mounds, pressing into the fingerprints, and letting that energy drive up through the shoulders, through the spine, and towards the extension of the hips. And when it feels appropriate, let's walk ourselves forward. We'll find our way into fold. We'll inhale into half lift. Exhale back into fold. Lift your awareness to your sacrum. Let's roll ourselves up vertebrae by vertebrae. Eventually finding our way into mountain. We'll inhale and bring our hands together at heart center. Let's slide our left foot straight back into lunge. Think about getting the depth of that leg space. Sweep the arms up and overhead for crescent. And then drop the hands to heart center. Now we're gonna roll to the open side of this shape. In doing so, the right knee is gonna wanna collapse in, and our balance is really gonna require a lot of energy into the toe mounds of both feet. So you're gonna roll the torso kind of towards a warrior two torso alignment. And we'll roll back to a neutral, step the left foot forward, and find mountain. Do the same thing on the second side. Right foot slides straight back. Get the strength first. Sweep the arms up and overhead into crescent. Then we'll drop the hands to heart center. Think about the strength in the toe mounds. We're gonna roll to the open side. No change of the leg position here. Roll back to neutral. We'll step forward. Inhale, sweep the arms up and overhead. Exhale through forward fold. Inhale into half lift. Big, flat, neutral spine. Exhale back into fold. Drift your awareness to your sacrum. Roll or sweep your way up into mountain. And drop your hands together, heart center. Nice work. We're gonna slide our right foot straight back into lunge. Drive the energy back into that right toe mount. Keep the hands at heart center. We're gonna bring our right tricep towards our left thigh. See if you can stack those forearms here. And think about pushing and elongating the crown of the head towards the front of the room. We'll undo the twist, sweep ourselves up into crescent. Very easy to be curvy in the lumbar spine here. Squeeze into the core to neutralize the shape. And we'll drop the hands and step to the front of the mat. When we just settle, feel your body relax here. And then when it's appropriate, side two, left foot slides straight back. We keep the hands at heart center. We set our positioning, left tricep to our right thigh. See if you can stack those elbows and elongate the crown of the head. When it feels appropriate for you, when you feel balance left to right, we're gonna sweep ourselves up into crescent. Once again, very easy to be curvy in the lumbar. Lock the shape down, then drop the hands. We'll step to the front of the mat. Sweep the arms up and overhead. Exhale through forward fold. Inhale into half lift. Exhale back into fold. And we'll roll or sweep our way up into mountain. Bring your hands together, heart center. Settle into your mountain. Sink the seat back towards chair. Hips back, knees stay where they are. Nice vertical tibia and fibia here. We'll rise back to mountain. Splay the toes out wide. Sink your seat back to chair. We'll rise back to mountain, sweep the arms up and overhead. Exhale through forward fold. Inhale into half lift. Exhale back into fold. Plant your hands. We'll walk to down dog. Get all of the distance once again in down dog. Drive the energy back into the hips. Think about creating that length. And then let's come down to hands and knees tabletop. We'll sink our way back into child's pose. And we just settle, ground, anchor here. So this villager is clearing this little area, that for whatever reason has stacked up with fallen branches. And when he gets down to where it's just bare ground and there's just this sprinkling of snow, through this little snow crust, he sees something glowing. The sun is starting to set. And there's this faint glow, and he digs down underneath the snow and just barely into the dirt. And it's this little tiny stone, and it's glowing. And as he picks it up, his arm radiates with warmth. And he puts it in his pocket to carry this bundle of firewood back to his home. And as the stone slips into his pocket, his whole body warms up. All the numbness in his fingers, all of the bitterness of the day is like instantly melting away. When it feels appropriate for you, as it feels appropriate for you, let's pull ourselves forward to hands and knees tabletop. We'll extend our legs out in front of us. As the legs extend, let's follow them forward into fold. Give ourselves 30 more seconds here. When it feels appropriate, let's lift ourselves back up. Into staff and then onto our backs. We settle here in a way where we can feel our body against the mat, in a way we can feel the impact of the respiration. See if it's easier this time to get the lumbar to just sit neutral and natural against the mat. And then we are going to bring our knees to a bent position if they're not already. And then extend your left leg, keep the right knee bent. And then we're going to extend that right foot towards the ceiling or sky. And then with an exhale, we're going to release the right foot over towards the left side of our mat. Staying hovered here, we'll inhale back towards the ceiling or sky. And then exhale the right foot back. The left side of the mat. Inhale back towards the ceiling or sky. Remember, we're resetting the bilateral balance weight distribution. Exhale, right foot to the left side of our mat, floor or room. Inhaling back to the ceiling or sky. And one more time, we will exhale the right foot into this twist. And inhale back to neutral, bending the right knee and then bending the left to mirror. And just allow yourself a little lateral sway here. Just feel how the sacrum is kind of interplaying with the lumbar. And then eventually we'll bring the knees back to neutral. We'll extend the right leg down the mat and send your left foot towards the ceiling or sky. With an exhale, the left foot is headed over towards the right side of our room mat floor. And we'll inhale back to neutral. Exhale into the rotation. Inhale to neutral. Exhale to the rotation. Inhale to neutral. And one more time. Exhale to the rotation. Inhale to neutral. We'll bend the left knee, bend the right to mirror. And same thing, we're gonna allow a little lateral sway here. Really allow for the exploration of your twisting capacity. Maybe just 10 more seconds of exploration, finding any last little bits. And when it feels appropriate for you, we're gonna pull both thighs in towards the torso. Give yourself a nice little squeeze. This time, see if you can take the knees out towards the armpits. And we'll give ourselves just about 15 more seconds here. Feeling that abductor musculature expansion. And when it feels appropriate, let's release our feet back down to the mat. As the feet come down to the mat, just let the lumbar settle once again. Feel the way your body's respirating. And then let's pull both thighs in towards the torso. We'll give ourselves a squeeze and we'll rock ourselves to that little half boat before we extend our legs out in front of us for the sensation of staff. Legs extended, spine vertical, transition to hands and knees tabletop. Nice work. All right, splay the fingers out. Think about the 4 fingers here really activating into the mat. Curl your toes, lift your seat, roll your way back into down dog. Get that big, long down dog expansion. And then let's walk to the front of the mat. We'll inhale into half lift. Flat, expansive spine. We'll exhale back into fold. Drift your awareness to your sacrum, and let's roll or sweep our way up into mountain. Bring our hands together, our heart center, and your hands come together, our heart center. Just think about splaying the toes out wide, anchoring yourself here, building this foundation of strength here. And when it feels appropriate for you, we're gonna slide our right foot straight back into lunge. We are once again gonna set the foundation of the shape. Think about being strong in the back toe mound, strong in the front toe mound. We'll take our right tricep to our left thigh. Stack the forearms here, create that big full shoulder girdle alignment. Lay the toes out on the left foot. And then without changing the torso alignment, let's step our right foot forward into a little chair. And then we'll rise back up to mountain. Sweep the arms up and overhead. And exhale through forward fold. Inhale to half lift. Exhale back into fold. Drift your awareness to your sacrum. We'll roll or sweep our way up into mountain. Bring your hands together, heart center. And just breathing here, just respirating here, just being at ease here. Splay the toes out wide. Think about that strength. And then let's slide our second foot, our left foot, straight back. We set the foundation of the shape. Think about the leg positioning. No bend in the back knee. We're rock solid in our positioning. Left tricep to right thigh. Stack the arms, get the shoulder girdle wide. Think about the expansiveness there. And then without changing the torso, we're stepping the left foot forward when you feel balanced into this chair. Nice little twist, nice little foot stack. We'll rise to mountain. Sweep the arms up and overhead. Exhale through forward fold. Inhale into half lift. Exhale back into fold. Drift your awareness to your sacrum. We'll roll or sweep our way up into mountain. Oh, and bring your hands together at heart center. Just feel the mountain shape. Splay the toes out. Flex the quads slightly. Flex the core slightly so we get more foundationally solid here. And then rise up onto the toe mounds if that feels comfortable for you. Think about keeping the ankles integrated and aligned. Feel that glute and core engagement, quad engagement. And then release the heels and drop to chair. And then in chair, see if it's possible to get back into that little toe mound balance without the ankles bowing out or in. Then release the heels and rise to mountain. Breathe. Core squeeze, glute squeeze. We'll take that little toe mound balance once again. Push down on the big toe mounds. And then without dropping the heels, see if it's possible to sink the seat back into chair. Good, solid, strengthen the legs here. We'll rise back up, drop the heels, sweep the arms up and overhead. And exhale through forward fold. Inhale into half lift. Exhale back into fold. Plant your hands. We'll walk our way to down dog. And come down to hands and knees tabletop. Flip the tops of the feet and sink our way back into child's pose. This will be the last child's pose of practice. So settle in here, get everything that you can benefit from here. So when this villager gets home, instead of making a fire, he just kind of jokingly puts this little pebble in the fireplace. And almost instantaneously, the room lights up with the glow of this little tiny stone, and the room lights up with the warmth of this little tiny stone. A warmth so intense, it's almost like a summer afternoon day. It's not just not cold, it's comfortably warm. As it so happens, this man was expecting a visit from a friend of his, a traveling merchant who was in the area and was going to stop by that night. We'll give ourselves just about 25 more seconds here. When it feels appropriate for you, let's pull ourselves forward to hands at knees, tabletop. And we'll extend our legs out in front of us. For a little staff, we'll follow that forward into one last seated forward fold. Last 50 seconds here. And so when this merchant arrived, he saw this stone glowing in the fireplace, and his jaw dropped open. And he looked over at his friend, and his friend just kind of pointed at it and said, "I found it out in the forest. This thing is amazing. I might never have to collect firewood again." And his merchant friend kind of looks at him and is like, "Never have to collect firewood again. Do you know how much that is worth? That's a sunstone. Those things are worth a fortune alone. You know, if you have one of those, you could probably retire. With 10, unfathomable wealth." When it feels appropriate for you, let's bring our spine back to vertical, and we'll lower ourselves onto our back. Certainly not the first time we've been here, but a new time of being here. So take a moment just to feel how your body is responding to the work we've put in here 3/4 of the way through practice. Feel how your body is receiving the inhale breath, how the mat and your body are interplaying as you pull your respiration in. And eventually, when it feels appropriate for you, let's bring our knees into a bent position if they're not already there, and then we'll allow the bottoms of the feet to come together and the knees to fall out wide. And we did do a little bit of an abductor opening, a little bit of a groin opening earlier in practice. And so this, you may feel more spacious here. Spacious isn't necessarily more comfortable though. And so if your body is feeling a little bit more open, you're feeling a little bit more expanded than what you're used to, just know that we're not going to be here much longer. We're going to be here for 45 more seconds-ish. Try to soften the way that you're respirating. last 15 seconds here. And when it feels appropriate, we'll bring our knees back to neutral. I want to let the knees fall over to the left side. And we're just going to hold here, a little static twist. If you feel like you need some warm up, you're welcome to move into this a little bit, but we have been pretty twisty this practice. So the next morning, this villager and this friend, this traveling merchant, kind of part ways. But the thought of this stone being valuable starts to work its way into this villager's mind. And he thinks, well, I would never give up this stone, but if I could find another, maybe that might be something I could sell. And so the next day, instead of going out and collecting firewood, he goes out and he looks for another sunstone. The firewood problem is solved. He has this stone that warms his house. He puts it in his pocket and takes it with him because it keeps him warm while he looks. And sure enough, as the sun starts to set that evening, after an entire day of looking, he sees this subtle glow, something that he may have missed 1,000 times before. It's so subtle. But now that he knows what he's looking for, he knows what he's looking for. When it feels appropriate, let's bring our knees back to neutral. And we'll let the knees fall over to the second side. And so he finds another sunstone before bed. He takes it home. And as he gets home, he realizes his friend said this was worth a fortune. But he has no idea what that means. And he doesn't want to talk to anyone about these stones because A, he doesn't want other people to find them, and B, he doesn't want other people to know he has one. And so he puts this stone into this velvet pouch. He tosses it under his bed. And then every day when he goes out, he takes it with him. And over the course of the next year, he finds 6 or 7 of these things. And over the course of the next couple years, he fills this velvet pouch. And he starts to really worry about holding this much value in his little home. He still doesn't know how much he could really sell these things for. He doesn't know where he would sell these things. He's never heard of them before. When it feels appropriate, as it feels appropriate, let's bring our knees back to neutral. We'll ask ourselves if there's anything else that we want, if there's anything else that we need, if there's anything else that we could benefit from prior to Shavasana. If there is, let's offer that to ourselves now. If we have everything we want, if we have everything we need, if we're ready for some stillness, then let's drift into a shape where we can appreciate some stillness. And so he sends a letter out to his friend, but who knows when he'll get it, if he'll get it. And in the meantime, he decides the only reasonable thing would be to go to the back of his house where he has this huge rock wall leading up into the mountains and carve out a space to build essentially a natural safe. For the next year, he just digs into this stone wall until he has enough space for a vault And then he welds 2 doors onto hinges. And then he welds the 2 doors shut. And he drills a hole through one so that anytime he finds a sunstone, he can drop it into this hole without ever opening this vault and exposing this massive collection to any peering eyes. Just your full version of stillness here. a decade later, this villager gets a letter from his buddy, his traveling merchant. And he's stopping by. And it doesn't seem like he received the letters that he'd sent out. Start to bring some movement to her fingers and toes. So the merchant shows up and he asks him, did you ever receive my letters? The merchant says no. And he says, well, then do I have a surprise for you? Movement into your wrists, your ankles. And he takes him out back where he's deposited maybe 1,000+ sunstones over the course of the last 10 years. Movement up into your elbows and your knees through this locked, sealed vault. Movement into your shoulders and your hips. He goes out and he breaks the seam of the weld off the doors and he pries the doors open. And he's waiting for this just beam of light to radiate out of this room, this vault. But it's pitch black. Movement throughout your whole body, neck, head, jaw, eyes, tongue. Eventually, the whole body moves enough that we can transition our way from the shape we're in back into a seat. And in this seated space, we just allow our spine to get nice and tall, our breath to get nice and fluid, our eyes to close. And so the villager runs in and there's this pile of pebbles, just gray stones. And he starts digging through, and the merchant friend is like, what are you doing? What is this? And he says, I put thousands of sunstones in this room. Someone's taken them and replaced them with all these pebbles. And the merchant's face just drops. He says, thousands. And you didn't know the first thing about sunstones. Sunstones require sun, and if they don't get it, they lose their power and just become stones. Your next inhale, let's bring our hands together, heart center. Just feel the way in which your body is respirating here. Over the course of the next 7 days, can you remind yourself that true wealth is not what we lock away behind closed doors, but what we allow ourselves to live in the light, and see how that changes your experience. Thank you so much for being a part of this evening's practice and for being you. Namaste. Happy Monday, guys.